Well, the latest polling shows that One Nation has surged past Labor in the first major poll since Treasurer Jim Chalmers handed down his budget, breaking election promises by announcing changes to negative gearing and capital gains tax. This poll by Roy Morgan found that primary support for One Nation was at 32%, while Labor held just 28.5% of the vote, the Coalition at 16.5%, the Greens at 11.5%. This is extraordinary. This is a political party that got roughly 6% at the last election, and now this party is leading in the polls. I mean, watch this space. Australians are certainly sending a clear message. This poll also comes after One Nation secured its second seat in the lower house at last weekend's Farrer by-election, which had the ABC in meltdown.
A big and dangerous mistake to legitimise One Nation and to embolden One Nation. I used the term earlier on in the broadcast, the permission structure. If they are able to win their first lower house seat, that begins the process of legitimising them. And in other electorates where they may run, voters thinking, well, it's happened before, it's normal now. You start normalising something.
Well, you can imagine their shock today after this poll has been released. I caught up with One Nation leader Pauline Hanson yesterday, who says this is just the beginning. Joining us now is One Nation leader Pauline Hanson. Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for your time. We'll get to the budget in just a moment, but first of all, congratulations on your party's win in Farrer. What does this mean for One Nation going forward?
It means so much, and I think to a lot of Australians out there who are looking for hope and change, it says to them, well, a vote for One Nation is not a wasted vote, but that we can actually get people elected to Parliament. I think a lot of people would shocked by the 40% vote that we got in that electorate, considering it was held by the Coalition for 77 years. So it's a good indication. I'm buoyed by it. I think it's wonderful. And I just want to say to people, you know, this is the start. We are going to call the government and future governments, whether it's the Labor or the Coalition government, or ourselves for that matter, but there has to be accountability for the people, and that's all they've been crying out for. Don't forget about us. You know, you work for us.
Let's talk about the budget. Labor, of course, broke its election tax promises, confirming changes to negative gearing, capital gains and family trusts, pretending that this will help young people. I've heard you speak about this, calling Labor's budget communism. We are standing by to get your own budget reply later tonight. What can we expect?
Yeah. Look, I want to put across a vision for Australia. Okay, I'm against what they've done because you're taking from those people that have worked extremely hard. You know, a lot of these people, like myself, a baby boomer, we went without. I actually had second-hand clothing, second-hand furniture. We didn't have the number of TVs and we didn't have a number. Well, there was no mobile phones. We didn't go to the restaurants. We had to save. What we saved, we put into investments. And those investments, you know, gave us the ability to provide for ourselves and later in life. And a lot of us now are helping our children because the cost of living is ridiculous. In our day, you could buy a house for 3 times your age. Now it's about 15 plus times, 16 plus times. So I get where the young ones are finding it very hard and struggling. The government's not helping them either with the 5% deposit because that's only putting them in more stress and more mortgage cost with the rising interest rates that is happening. So what we want to do is give the Australian people hope. You know, our tax is on income splitting. We're looking at pensioners being able to work unlimited hours. It doesn't affect their pension or their healthcare card. I want, you know, future building infrastructure projects that we need to introduce in Australia to give us the wealth that we need.
Something just happened in Australian politics that has not happened since the Second World War. A party other than Labor or the Liberals has topped a national opinion poll. And that party is One Nation. Let that settle in for a moment. A special Roy Morgan Snap SMS poll, conducted May 13th to 14th from a representative sample of 2,348 voters, put One Nation at 32% of the primary vote. Labor came in at 28.5%, the Coalition at 16.5%, and the Greens at 11.5%. That is not a rounding error. That is a seismic shift in the landscape of Australian politics. So how did we get here? 2 words, FAR and budget. On May 9th, One Nation candidate David Farley won the Far by-election, becoming the first One Nation candidate ever elected to the House of Representatives through a direct election rather than a defection. One Nation's David Farley pulled around 39% of the primary vote in Far, in a seat that had been a safe Liberal stronghold for over 2 decades. The coalition did not just lose, it barely registered as a factor. Then came the federal budget. And One Nation's numbers went even higher. Political analysts including Flinders University's Josh Sunman have begun comparing One Nation's trajectory to the UK's Reform Party, noting shared emphases on economic grievances and voter dissatisfaction with the major parties. The parallel is worth watching. Reform went from a fringe movement to reshaping British politics in a very short window. Australia appears to be experiencing its own version of that realignment, compressed into a matter of months. The same poll found that a federal election held today would be too close to call on a two-party preferred basis between One Nation and Labor. The coalition, once one of the 2 pillars of Australian federal politics, is sitting at 16.5%. That is a number that prompts serious questions about the future direction of Conservative politics in this country under Liberal leader Angus Taylor and Nationals leader Matt Canavan. Experts are urging Labor to begin preparing for challenges in outer suburban and regional seats, areas where dissatisfaction with the major parties is running hottest and where One Nation's message is landing most effectively. Australian politics in 2026 is not following the old playbook. And if you want to keep up with exactly how fast this story is moving, subscribe to Federal Analysis. The next update is already on its way.